Today on WAPTech Regurgitates the News, WAPTech reads Bloomberg because it's the only source for any of this and we're just going to use it. This is some of the information from the article. Warning, the article might not show up because it's having internal server errors today for some reason. And I have an archive of it that goes to Archive Today, and it's QLJ4J. Here we go. Evraz North America, an Oregon steel plant subsidiary of it, and of Evraz PLC, one of Russia's largest steel and mining companies, through a December 10th, 2019 confidential internal secret probe, which we're just hearing about, that was called Portland Plate Quality Inspections, found that from November 2017 to December 2019, employees sometimes put in fake data, skipped or bypassed hardness tests for armor plates that were made in the thousands, 12,800 of them. These were made for Oshkosh Defense LLC that then used them for medium tactical vehicles and also one of the most used vehicles by the U.S. Army and 12 other nations, including a specific country that was having issues with Russia at the time. Or was it later? When did they invade and now we have a president who denies this ever happened? Puttin' sucker. And anyway, all of this was caused by a 2017 allegation that was only processed by 2019. 4 employees said there wasn't sufficient time to complete the required tests for every plate because of pressure to keep production line moving. Their direct supervisors were ordering them to keep things moving at all costs. This is something you never do in anything that requires any precision or quality control. You can speed things up, but you have to have the employees tell you, it's easy, we're okay with it. You want them to be the laziest creatures on the planet when it comes to quality. If something is just pumping out spoons or something where an error isn't going to have any critical effect, it's okay to fuck them up. You just recycle them. They didn't recycle any that went bad. They just skipped the tests or faked it or whatever. They falsified hardness ratings for armor. Now, if you're not aware of it, armor has to have a certain hardness level, but not higher or lower for the surface. And then you want the rest of the armor to maybe have a lower or higher hardness level, depending on the type of armor. It's a very complicated subject. Go look it up. No, I'm not wrong about this. Just stop. Just stop typing and start looking. Go read and still open your ears more than you talk, please. Now let's move on. But this was done only when they were behind. That's how it was. I was trained, said one of them. And the conclusion internally, again, this is a 2019 report that was created in 2019. Was this all in 2019? Relevant managers were aware of the practice. So everybody knew this on the production floor. They were given deadlines and everybody plausibly, deniably said, I don't know how you do it, just get it done. This happens in every business. Any of you who have ever worked any kind of job knows this. You know that this happens at job sites way, way too often. And it's just part of dealing with assembly lines and production lines. It's like 2 years. It's over 2 years. That's a lot of time. The plates passed independent testing by government-approved facilities, but those test sample size. You're supposed to test them 100%, so you just put them back to the recycling thing. It causes a delay, but you say, oh, it's bad, you plop it in. It reduces your yield, but you can just reprocess the metal. Most of the time, the hardness of the plates, which have to be between certain numbers, is done by thermal processes. Sometimes it's done by metallurgical changes, but most of the time it's done by heat and cooling cycles. And then they're roughed out. Before December 20th, 2019, which was a little while afterwards, Oshkosh had noticed something wrong with more than 24 pieces of plate. Some Armalloy 550 plates showed signs of cracking during the process of shaping the plates to fit on vehicles. This is where they take the raw flat plate, normally it's flat, it could be other shapes, and then finish form it to where it'll meet, tolerances. So that when it's in place, you just bolt it in place and it goes on easy, or clips in place. It depends. They also had a specific chemical compound found on those plate surfaces. I'll give an opinion on that, I guess. So, from 2017 to 2019, untested armor plate raw blanks may have been produced by a Russian-owned steel plant whose largest shareholder was a confidant of President Vladimir Putin and personal friend, Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich. Well, at least that's a couple of degrees of separation, isn't it? The U.S. government at one time made sure that they got lots of really high quality, I think it was titanium. It was hard to get, but you could get it from Russia. And they totally did a legitimate above board deal to get that so they could build some really cool aircraft that's been mistaken repeatedly for UFOs. Oh no, they lied to the Russian government, had the shit shipped for alternate purposes, and then tested every ounce of it. As for the chemical on the surface, that probably just means these were not treated or not. Any metallurgists that know about Armalloy 550 plate armor, you'll know more than I do. Now I'm going to do the technical subjects, but of course, one of the conclusions of this was that it was totally not Russian interference. Every company owned by Russia, just Russian owned. Same thing with China owned. We have a president that will not speak ill of of Vladimir Putin. I almost called him Donald Putin. The fucker's in bed with him. They got dirt on him and everybody else who apparently can't stop perjuring themselves. So let's get to the point. Every senator and governor, every representative that isn't part of this scam, okay, please contact them. They're not going to listen to me. Tell them that they need to immediately decide that any Chinese-owned company has to shut down, period. Any Russian-owned. If North Korea owns a company, or any dirt here, no, they don't anymore. It's all reverted. Stop playing fair when people are being unfair to you. Stop following the rules of a treaty that other people are breaking. Tell them, look, you broke it. This is not just an excuse. We're going to do this one thing and make you not a problem anymore. I mean, a steel plant can still stay in business. It's just that the people owning it lose control over it, and it becomes an independent company. Evraz North America in Oregon, the steel plant, turns into Schnitzelhaben or whatever because it gets stolen from this large bunch of oligarchs and Putin confidants, at least, and we go forward. And when they complain about it, say, you're the fuckers threatening to bomb us with nuclear warheads. This is the statement from Putin on national television. We're taking every bit of this seriously and fixing the problem. And then subpoena everybody's fucking phone. Democrat, Republican, Independent. I don't give a fuck who they are. And say, no, your life is an open book. We're not listening anymore. Shut up and tell your lawyer to go fuck off. And find every fucking co-conspirator. No, this probably was not in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, this is the reveal. This is probably nothing to do with Putin or Russians at all. This is American-style fuck-up. In Russia, if you fuck up the plates, I'm sure that it's going to be about as bad. That's because shoddy workmanship is universal. But no, seriously, every single Putin sucker needs to be removed from office. That includes Trump. Sorry if you don't like hearing that. That's my opinion. I've got lots of opinions. But it doesn't make much of a difference. But yeah, this is purely capitalism, not communism or socialism. This is capitalism driving a A stake through the heart of quality control for the umpteenth billionth time. That's why you have to have laws against that kind of shit. Is this a quality controlled, is this a durable good? It is. 2 decades worth, that's what they're rated for. Is this requiring quality control and or safety or security testing? Not California security and safety testing where everything is labeled as containing lead when it fucking doesn't because they put a warning label on every goddamn thing, false alarming everything. I'm talking about real practical answers here. If it is under those conditions, then you have to make a law that says every person in the plant is now a whistleblower and you're going to be held to standard. You'll not have these problems anymore because everybody on the assembly line, if one supervisor tells them to hurry it up and get that done faster than it can be done, they immediately say, line's locked. Your name and face are put up on the page. And then they just post them. Idiot did something stupid. Idiot did idiot things. And then fire them the instant they try to rush them. When you're doing metallurgical testing, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can do automated testing on plates as long as they're completely consistent. I've actually done this for a very short time, testing a hardness testing of a metal plate at a business. They put me in front of the machinery and did it. And I said, what are the parameters or rules? It has to be perfectly flat. Put it down here. If it tilts or wobbles, don't test it. Okay. It failed test because it's not flat. It goes through the rollers. The idea is the whole process of making these things through rollers, impact, extrusion, heating and cooling, all of these contribute to the hardness range or strength or durability of them. They have to be ductile enough, sort of soft, to tolerate impact, but hard enough to stop most impacts below a certain intensity level. That's how armor plate's supposed to work. And usually they're differentially hardened. The top surface will be harder, or outside surface will be harder than the inside. So it'll break and spall on surface, acting like a ceramic, and the interior will act as a malleable metal for it to go through. But not always. It depends on what you're making. By the way, if anybody's curious, the armor metal or whatever, the metal plates I was testing, was for it to be the feedstock to go into the next layer to make knives. They were just knives. But it couldn't be warped. It had to be perfect. Each piece was cut as a blank set, I think it was about a foot across, to make a bunch of kitchen knives. I got a job there one time. And the material had to be tested all over its surface by a 10 by 10 grid of hardness testers that all independently came up with numbers. If there was a huge amount of variation, rejected. If there was no variation and it was within parameters, great. If it had any deviation from being within parameters or any variation over the surface, it was rejected because it meant the machines weren't working correctly. And I was told, depending on where you're getting them from, they're going to be complete crap or they'll be perfect. Go, no go test. And it was a go, no go test. And it would chuck it into the bin. And it had all over it, broad as hell, the numbers for the sample name. The sample numbers were many, many digits long and sprayed on with ink. Inkjet printed at the time when inkjet meant from a distance. And the surface had been chemically stripped and then sanded to make it flat on both sides as much as possible. And if it wobbled at all, I wasn't allowed to do the testing. Some of you might know where the fuck I was doing that. I was in Portland at the time. That's all I know about it. But that test consists of doink, doink, doink. That's a couple of seconds. Anything that's really short duration, this is the problem with it. Let me give you an example. That's a really short duration to do any action. Demanding a 50% increase in production speed would require a person to go from to. That is hard to do. On the other hand, if it's and I'm supposed to speed it up, that requires I do. That's a 50% improvement, or 25% in that case, or 33. Time it down below if you want to. The point I'm making is, if you're already doing a really good production speed, it'd be impossible to really go faster. And human beings have a huge amount of variation. When humans are involved, you can't make machines out of them. Or just replace them with machines only. Machine quality testing isn't bad. Anyway, no, this is not a sign that the Russians were influencing it, blah, blah, blah. They might have, but you'd have to prove that fully. Next. Why was this a confidential thing on something this critical in 2019? Because it was shared with the company that was receiving the parts first so they could fix the problem. In all likelihood, none of these are fucked up as of today. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Bye.